Now, to get the process started, the first thing that we're going to be needing are copies of your credit reports. Now, I want to see recent credit reports from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. I do need all three reports. You can get them from annualcreditreport.com, but we do need the official reports from these three credit bureaus to look at your case. Once we have these reports, the other documents that we need are going to be any evidence you have that the information that's reported is wrong, it's erroneous. So, for example, if it's a late payment type of situation, I like to see if you have any records that you made that particular payment, like your bank statements. Or do you have an account statement from the company that shows the payment? If, for example, if it's a case that involves wrong balance, I like to see what the account statements show as the balance, or if you have any bank statements that show that you made the payment. If it's other types of cases, there'll be other documents that may be required, but those are just some simple examples. But whatever documents you have that prove the information on the report is false or erroneous, we need to see those documents. The next thing that we request is, have you done credit disputes with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion? A dispute with the creditor of the account does not count as an FCRA, a Fair Credit Reporting Act dispute. Disputes must be filed with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. If the account's reported on all three, you have to file 3 separate disputes, one with each of the credit reporting agencies. If you don't do that, you don't have an FCRA case yet. So once that happens, what we need would be, if you've already done the disputes, what we need are the results of those dispute investigations. We need to see the dispute results of the investigations back from Equifax, from TransUnion, from Experian. Those are required for us to evaluate your case. Once you have established that there is an error, that you have proof of that error, and you have disputed the information and the results came back. The results will come back as one or two things. The information is going to continue to be reported on your credit report, and they'll say verified as accurate or remains unchanged, or they'll say updated but nothing really changes. Or you're going to get something back from the disputes will say deleted. If the information is deleted, then it's no longer on your credit report. Now, the results of the investigation are important. Now, so some people then contact me in my office and ask, well, how much is my case worth? Is it a high value case? Is it a low value case? Is it somewhere in the middle? Well, that depends on a couple of factors. The first factor on the value of your case depends on how severe was the information that was reported on your credit reports. For example, if it's a 30-day late payment, it's not as bad. The severity level is low. If it's, let's say, they marked you as repossessed on a car loan or foreclosed on a house that you never were foreclosed on, well, the severity of that reporting is high. So that's one factor we look at, is how severe is the reporting. The second factor we look at is how many disputes were filed before they fixed it or never fixed the issue. If it was one dispute was filed and they immediately fixed the issue, there's not much of a case there because the FCRA allows the companies that's reporting the information as well as the credit reporting agencies to one opportunity with your dispute to fix it. And if they do that within one dispute, you don't really have a case, or if you do have a case, it's probably a very weak case and probably won't be taking that case on. The next thing we look at is, well, let's say if you have a series of disputes and they're verified, accurate, verified, and they continue to verify that false information. The next factor on how valuable your case is depends on how you were injured by the false reporting. Now, the false reporting itself is not an injury under some case law. What the false reporting causes you to miss out on a credit opportunity is the injury. So the main injury here isn't that the information that they reported was false and they verified that every time. The injury here is, how did that affect you? Did you, for example, if you just If it didn't affect you at all, you weren't denied any credit opportunities, like a credit card, mortgage, auto loan, student loan, business loan, you probably have no damages. That creates a problem for your case. You may have everything there, but then you don't have an injury. And let's say if it was a credit card denial. Well, you have an injury. It's just a minor injury. Therefore, even if the reporting was severe, your injury is minor, and therefore it lowers the value of your case. Let's say you have a case where you were denied a mortgage. Well, that is a pretty big damage, and the information that was reported was also false and was pretty severe. Well, that means that it sounds like a pretty good case, higher value. And imagine if you had 3 disputes or 5 disputes. Well, that would mean that they gave them so many attempts and they reported very derogatory information for a long period of time, and it affected you in a very serious way. That would be a much, much higher value case. If you had this false information, you only did 1 dispute, and you were denied a mortgage, and that lowers the value of the case because the number of disputes is lower. So you have to measure those 3 things to determine the value of your case. Each case is different. I'm happy to discuss the value of your case with you, and if you feel free to reach out to my office.